So we're starting right away with a song. Wow, heard that? Cool. So we got more different things happening right now. But what I wanted to... So there's this call, this like loud sort of one-tone call. And there's this song that I wanted to that one, that's the one-tone call that I wasn't expecting. I heard it right after I turned on the camera. I wanted to focus on that song there, which you already heard, that one. And that is the Fringilla calyps, which is chaffinch, which we talked about in some of the previous videos. Now it is doing its classic call or song. So that's chaffinch, and the one-tone call we've heard there. Riku, pojď tady, jo. The one-tone call we've heard there in the distance, that was, good boy, that was a black woodpecker. So the largest of woodpeckers in the Czech Republic, I believe the largest woodpecker in Europe, it is a very, very common species around here. Not as common as his smaller sort of cousin, great spotted woodpecker, which is, you know, a bird that you see pretty much, well, almost everywhere, really. You know, a city park, a national forest, you know, like national park forest, like wherever you really are, you know, sometimes in cherry orchard, you know, they're like really very common species. I believe there's starlings as well, because I've heard, I'm not sure if you caught it, somewhere there are these, yeah, clean whistles, very high pitch, going up and then down a little bit. They're somewhere over there, so those are starlings. I can hear behind my back there's a yellowhammer, and I think yeah, right over there somewhere on the edge of that tree line is a song I haven't heard yet, and it's a first this year. We could potentially go closer. Not sure if you can hear it, but it's a song that repeats. That one. And the typical for this song is that you have segments which repeat from 2, but very often 3 to 4 repetitions, you know. So you have a segment of a song that repeats 3 times or 4 times, sometimes even 5 times, before it moves on to a next segment of the song, or different motif, so to speak, you know. So it's like different motifs tied together which repeat 3 to 5 times. So let's listen to it. 3. So that was 3. Yeah, so, you know, if you listen to it long enough, you're gonna hear, oh, this repeats. So like there's like 3 repetitions, then 4 repetitions, then 3 repetitions, then, you know, sometimes just 2. but it repeats. That's the sort of trademark of it. And it's not one song. It's never like two different motives. It's most likely like 4, 5, 6 different motives that this bird repeats over and over, and it always repeats it 3 to 5 times each and every segment of the song. And that is absolutely unmistakable song thrush. Turdus, and what is he? Turdus, damn. Turdus philomelos, yeah. So that is absolutely typical a song for a song thrush. And we talked about many times about mistle thrush, and heard its song, and saw it, and talked about how it eats mistletoe berries. And song thrush is a species that are much later visitors to the temperate climate. They migrate south, so they're spending winter somewhere in the south, most likely around, or most of the time around the Mediterranean. I believe there are some they could fly even further, but it mostly will be around Mediterranean. But if you live a little bit more up north, just like I do, then a song thrush is a much later visitor, in towards the spring, So now it's quite early, as are many other birds, with all this sort of warmer temperatures that are happening, because it's still not cold enough, and it's already, tomorrow is March actually, which is crazy, and the temperatures only go up. I saw a forecast and it's supposed to be like 15, next week, or maybe it was this weekend, I'm not sure, but it's crazy. But it actually will get colder. I saw there's going to be 5 degrees per day in the day and -5, so it will get colder. But apparently whole nature and birds just they went in, they were like, okay, this is spring, and I don't blame them, because it does feel like spring, to be honest. So who knows what's going to happen in March, because if it will get very, very cold, then that's going to be a problem. Hopefully at this point it won't get too cold, because I think it would already be very late for that, and it would be quite harmful, because everything's pumped up, flowers and birds and amphibians and everything. You heard the frogs yesterday, it's really spring. I'm still gonna title these videos as winter, because to me it's still, I still believe this is still winter that kind of pretends to be spring. So I'll still be titling it as winter, but very soon I think I'll change the title to spring actually, and start putting in a spring playlist. But sorry, I digressed there. I was talking about the song thrush, and then it's like a much later visitor, and it's much less sort of cold loving than a mistle thrush. Mistle thrush is much more hardy, and song thrush you're not gonna hear, most likely sooner than, as you see, it's end of February, and most likely you'll start hearing it at some point in March, and it's much smaller bird than a mistle thrush, and its song is very, very specific, as you've heard, and absolutely unmistakable. You're gonna remember it exactly with this rule of repeating. I actually dubbed this bird a bird jukebox, because it kind of sounds like he's throwing in different motives. It's not like the imitating birds like marsh warbler or starlings. Those birds are actually the true jukeboxes, because they really play songs, full songs, and songs of different species, and different quote-unquote interprets, and different bird artists. But the song thrush is not doing that. Obviously, it's his thing, and I think sometimes he kind of imitates. I believe I've heard a song thrush that was trying to sort of imitate some song, but mostly it's just his thing, you know. It's his song, and he kind of improvises a little bit, I feel like, or maybe they learn some motives from their parents, perhaps, or from other birds, and they just put it into their from other song thrushes, and they put it into their repertoire, and they're just repeating it 3 to 5 times each motive before moving on to another motive, and that repeating 3-4 times, and then moving to another one, repeating it to 3 to 4 times or 5 times, and moving to another one. So if you hear that kind of song, it's a song thrush. And you know, a little something about song thrush is that, oh, I just recalled I was talking about black woodpecker. Apologies, you know, is there a lot of things happening because it's almost spring and birds are, you know, coming in from their wintering grounds. They're flying from south back here, and you hear this is kind of the period when every single morning, every single day, you're gonna hear new calls and new birds and new species and new arrivals, you know. So it's a time that is very eventful, and it's kind of hard to focus on one thing. But I'm gonna get back to black woodpecker for sure. But first, I'm just gonna say one little interesting thing about song thrush is that bird loves snails, you know. And I'm not like you can't. I don't think you can say it specializes on snails. There are other birds in the world out there that really do have that adaptation when they have like specifically shaped beaks so they can, you know, extract snails out of their shells. Song thrush is not like that. Song thrush actually came up with a strategy that is very interesting, and sometimes you're going to come across it and you'll be like, huh, what is this? And you're going to know that that's from a song thrush. But what song thrush is doing with the snails is that song thrush will find a hard surface, ideally a stone somewhere, and it's going to keep coming back to that stone with snails, and it will bang the snails on the hard surface, on the stone or a slab of something, you know, and it will break the shells and eat the insides, you know, eat the snails. And that's what song thrushes do. And when you find that spot, you're gonna know, because there's gonna be some, I don't know, stone, and around there's gonna be a lot of broken snail shells. And that will tell you, oh, this is a song thrush's, and it's called anvil. So this is a song thrush's anvil, you know. And it's a very specific behavior that really is, I'm always saying, a trademark of song thrush. So that's just an interesting thing about song thrushes. And that was the first one we've heard. It must have arrived because yesterday I haven't heard any, you know, so it must have arrived yesterday, or, you know, might have even today, you know, because birds do, some birds do migrate overnight, you know, so who knows? So who knows when it arrived? But I was talking about black woodpecker, and that one tone call we've heard was a black woodpecker, and that is as I said, a largest woodpecker around here, and I believe in Europe, and it is producing a loads of different calls. You know, it's one of those birds that don't have only one sort of type of call that it repeats and it's like easy to identify. It actually has a multiple different types of calls it's using for different situations. So that one we've heard, I believe that is a call that is used to like attract females. I believe it's like a sort of a mating call, so to speak. I'm, by the way, not super sure about this because I haven't checked it in a long time, so I'm gonna definitely double check. but I believe that was a call that attracts, or it's a context call, you know, one of those. Then there is a call that woodpecker, the black woodpecker, uses only when it flies, so it's like a flight call. And then there are some other ones that sounds like a meowing cat kind of. And then there is another one, and you know, so there are like, I think 4 different calls for black woodpecker, but they're actually easy to learn and easy to distinguish. And it's kind of cool when you do learn them. Then every time you're somewhere and you hear, for instance, the flight call, you know, oh, black woodpecker is flying, you know, and you can like look up and see where it goes. So he's kind of transparent, right? Like he takes flight and he's like, I'm flying, you know. So he's like calling while he flies, which is really cute and funny. And it's a very pretty woodpecker. It's like black with this red cap, and actually quite easy to distinguish the male and the female, because the male has a full red cap covering his whole head, and now I'm hoping I'm saying it right. The female does have only the back of the head, like a little bit of red. I don't think the female is entirely black. That's not the case. But it has the back of its head, just a little bit of red. Again, I'm gonna definitely double check, but that's how you're gonna, if you're seeing a woodpecker, sometimes you do see them up close, you're gonna know, oh, that's a female or that's a male. And here we're hearing that bird we heard yesterday. It was, hear it? So it goes da 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 da. Pew 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 pew. Yeah. It's like, can you imagine in the sound? Can you imagine the stairs, sort of? I kind of see stairs. It goes like this, you know? I feel like it goes down the stairs, sort of. Yeah. So this song, and you can see, I'm trying to pinpoint it. Now it's like somewhere over there, but most of the time, like, we were hearing it from somewhere over there, you know, up in the sky. Not up there on the tree, not up here on the trees, no, somewhere high up. And that is a lark, and this, in this case, a woodlark that we've heard yesterday. And it has this descending song, and I can't see it at all. Ah. And we are hearing more calls. Yeah. I'm going to talk about those some other time because they were not very audible, but those were other species we haven't heard yet. But this, like, it kind of visualize it like stairs, you know. That was a woodlark, and we heard it very beautifully. Yeah, and again, I digressed. As I was talking about black woodpecker, and one thing that you're gonna notice, and one thing that you're gonna recognize woodpecker by, is also by its drumming, which is very specific and very different from the spotted woodpeckers, because those are short and they are kind of very high. Is it BPM, beats per minute? I guess it's like very high BPM, so it's like, you know, kind of. Whereas with black woodpecker, it's like the BPM is much slower and it's much louder, you know, since it's a very large bird, much larger than the biggest of the spotted woodpeckers, the great spotted, you know. So it's very loud, it's quite long, and it has lower BPM. So that's how you can also distinguish, oh, that is a black woodpecker drumming. Yeah, so that's just another interesting fact about them. And yeah, they're a very common species, and they're one of the species actually that quite thrive, you know, because out of all these different habitats, like you have wetlands and farmland and all that, woods are actually, at least in Central Europe, doing quite well, you know, considering you know, the overall situation, you know, where farmland is absolutely devastated, you know, and wetlands are, you know, rare and also very, very endangered habitats. Forests, on the other hand, are doing quite well, you know. Of course, you still have, you know, monocultures and large artificial sort of, you know, forest farms, you can call it, because, you know, you have only one species of a tree specifically grown for timber, which is not healthy and not natural at all, and it's like, you know, it's not great. But you have loads of forests that are healthy, you know, and they're in good condition and they're doing well, and therefore black woodpecker is thriving a lot, you know. It's doing really good, it's doing really well, you know, unlike species that are, for instance, tied to wetlands or need a very healthy ponds, which are here. For instance, there are a lot of ponds. It's like a part of the Czech sort of culture, especially in the south or in the southwest. There are a lot of ponds, but very few of those ponds are actually healthy because there is too many carps, too many fish that destroy the balance in the water, and there's a lot of the water is just, you know, not contaminated, but the water is dirty, and it's like, you know, it's not suitable for so many species because of it, because there's just too much fish, you know, because again, extensive sort of farming, you could say, you know, or extensive water management, basically. But woodpeckers, they're doing really well, you know, because they are, I assume, quite adaptable, and they do have healthy forests, you know, that they can pick from. And of all the habitats out there, you know, there are, I believe there are how to put it, you know, if you would have to count healthy, suitable forests, habitats, you know, for all the different species, there would be, the larger number you would count would be the forests, you know, undoubtedly, you know, it wouldn't be farmland for sure. So yeah, so that's why these forest species like black woodpecker are thriving. Sorry, I sometimes take so much time to kind of squeeze out what I want to say, but, you know, since English is not my native language, it's kind of hard to, sometimes I have that expression in Czech, and I am like, yeah, I would totally know how to say that in Czech, but it's like kind of hard to like get to how do you say it in English, you know. And then, quite frankly, there are many other things that I would say, oh man, I totally know how to say this in English, but I have troubles remembering how do I say this in Czech. So it's kind of funny conundrum, you know. But sometimes I really do take a lot of time to squeeze out what I want to say, or like find some words. So I apologize for that, you know. All these like yeah, I know it's bad, but I'm trying, you know. I'm trying my best. Also, obviously, I'm just talking on top of my head. I don't have any of this prepared, you know. I'm just walking and, you know, like pulling things out of my memory, really. But that was really cool. We've heard black woodpecker, we've heard woodlark again, we've heard chaffinch. What else we've heard? Oh, and a song thrush. So there's a lot of new species today. Some of them we've heard already, but yeah, definitely 2 new species. And song thrush, very cool, yeah, and easy to remember song. The repetitions, you know, 3 to 5 repetitions of each motive of the song, and it's unmistakable, you know. And they love snails, so if you're gonna find a stone somewhere with a lot of broken shells, you know, oh, that's a songbird's anvil. And once I even saw songbird doing it right in front of me. It was so cool, and it wasn't afraid, which was kind of weird. But like I remember coming across this song thrush with a snail that was on an asphalt road, and it was breaking the snail on the asphalt. And I really came up to it. I was probably like a meter away, and it was so caught up in breaking that snail's shell, it didn't fly away. So I was just watching it, and it was like breaking the snail. I was like, wow, look at that. So that was really cool. And then it broke it, ate it, and flew away, you know. So that was some dedication, you know. He was really going to break that snail, and no human will interrupt me doing that. So yeah, it's a pretty cool bird. And actually, I have a song thrush tattooed to my what is it? Forearm. It's not a forearm, but on my biceps. Yeah, whatever. I have it tattooed. I have a song thrush tattooed on my arm. I have more species there, by the way, but one of them is song thrush. And I can tell you why at some other video. Why do I have a song thrush in there? But yeah, that was today's walk. I talked a lot probably, and I think I babbled a lot too, and digressed a lot, like usually, you know. It's the same with me not having glasses, which I don't have today, by the way, which is not surprising, I guess. But you know, that's just sort of classic me that you can kind of count with, I guess. Anyways, I'm gonna sign off now.